The views expressed on the Nova Society are those of the panelists and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Phoenix Research Institute or any institution which any panel member is associated.
Welcome back to the Nova Society. I'm your host, Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, and I'm here with my panel, Dr. Scott Gershwer and Dr. Mark Bound, your favorites and mine. Today we will be answering listener emails, and we have a question from Ollie, who lives in Memphis, Tennessee. And Ollie asks, well, here we are, over 3 weeks into the government shutdown with no end in sight. I've tried to look at this from the Republican side. I know the panel always promotes the political action is usually motivated by a positive calculation, but I admit I can't see how this benefits the Republicans. Can you shed some light or insight on what benefits the Republicans in thinking of what they might get from this shutdown? I admit I'm totally in the dark. You and me as well. I am also, Ollie, I don't really know, except they're putting off the inevitable, but I think the government could be shut down through next year, to be honest.
And I'm gonna
Forever.
go out on a limb here and say
No, not a prediction.
that the Republicans are fine with that. Would be fine with that. Yeah. That look, Republicans are the party of small government, and there's no government smaller than no government at all. And until it begin, and it's also the party of no empathy. Republicans don't generally care about anything until it affects them personally. Republicans who are staunchly anti-LGBTQ find themselves pro-LGBTQ when a member of their family comes out, for example. And it's going to have to hurt them, unfortunately, before they understand that there's a problem. Because when it doesn't hurt them, they think, oh, it's only hurting other people. That's what they want. And so they can't imagine, they don't have the ability to imagine it happening to them until it happens to them. And then they get angry about it. And unfortunately, they get angry late. There's a lag time. So they should have been angry at George W. Bush, but they were angry at Barack Obama, and the Tea Party was a reaction to that, right? The policies of George W. Bush were what drove us into that economic abyss. But they didn't get angry until they lost their jobs and they lost their homes. And they couldn't pay their mortgages and lost their homes. And they had to move back in with mom and dad, whose house was already paid off. And as a result of that, they started forming the Tea Party, taxed enough already, and it quickly took on a racist overtone because there was a black man now in office, or an African American in office. And that's going to have to happen here before they realize that they do depend on the government, that they're going to miss out on their Medicaid. They're going to miss out on their government checks that they get so much more than blue states do. And as far as the government is concerned, as far as Trump is concerned, this plays perfectly into the Project 2025 plan to eliminate all government workers and replace them with MAGA loyalists or Trump loyalists. And so this is going to continue, I think, until they achieve that goal. And we're only at the beginning. The courts are still trying to decide whether these layoffs can happen while people are out of work because they're furloughed. But we're going to start seeing more and more, we're going to start seeing that the meat inspectors aren't inspecting the meat because they're not getting paid to do it. And so you're going to get some rotten meat because the meat people are going to go, well, nobody's looking, so why don't we put some of this tainted meat out there too? And maybe we'll just hope for the best, And you're going to see stuff like there are going to be real world consequences. And I don't know if it was the last time we saw it, but when Romney was running against Obama and Sandy hit, and the governor of New Jersey at the time, Chris Christie, had to go put his arm around Obama or walk hand in hand with him on the beach or what was left of the boardwalk and realize that I don't care what party the president is from. I need federal action and I need it fast. And that cost Romney that election. Yeah, something horrible is going to happen before Republicans realize, I kind of do need the government. And, we're heading in that direction, but we're not. I don't think we're there yet.
Well, and then Trump will simply refuse the money, which is what he has been doing. And I had one question from Mark along these lines. I understand that Johnson is now being sued by Alina. No, it's not Alina.
Utah. Let's just say, or
Arizona.
Arizona, and the Attorney General of Grijalva of Arizona. I'm sorry, on behalf of Miss Grijalva to seat her because he's refusing to do that. How is that so that way anybody can give her the oath rather than it having to be Johnson?
Well,
how do you think that might go?
I think it's a legitimate complaint. This person has been duly elected and has not been sworn in. Johnson has come up with every excuse known to man not to seat her, which, sometimes I got to wonder why that is, because yes, she said she's going to be that 218th vote to release the Epstein's files, but as long as the government's out and the House is in recess, okay, what difference does it make? Just have this girl come into the office and swear her in and, go back out on vacation and get your face punched, I guess. I don't know. But I don't get it. I mean, it makes very little sense because all it's going to do, it's a bad look, number one. I mean, it's a very partisan look when you say the Speaker of the House, a Republican, is making every excuse known to man, and he is turning himself into pretzels trying to come up with all these types of excuses to basically seat a duly elected member of the House of Representatives who happens to be from another party. It's a horrible look. And it may lead to some changes.
Or it's a trial balloon.
Yeah. I mean,
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
The next Congress after midterms could be a Democratic Congress, but unless Mike Johnson lets them come and swears them in, they're not the next Congress.
That's right. Or just think of it this way. Let's say you had a Congress where the Democrat was the Speaker of the House. Under the way it looks like it's going here, what if he was only to swear in the Democrats? And then when it came time to swear in the Republicans, let's go on vacation. The issue with American democracy there are certain things that can be done that we never thought would ever, that nobody contemplated would possibly be done. The idea of not swearing in a duly elected member of Congress, I'm sorry, the founding fathers never would have expected that. And let's get something straight. Anybody that thinks the founding fathers were all joined hands singing Kumbaya together, you're out of your bloody mind. Just look at most of the votes that were taken by that Congress back then. There are a lot of them that didn't like each other. They really did not like each other. And if you don't believe it, just go watch Hamilton. I mean, you can see a great example of it. So there's so many things that we never expected, so many things that Trump does that we never expected, that was unthinkable in the past. And that's where our democracy has started to erode. So it makes zero sense to me, back to the question, as to what political capital the Republicans seem to think that they can get out of this action. Now, they are hoping that the MAGA base will listen to the propaganda on Fox and those other outlets, and will believe that it's all the fault of the Democrats. They're hoping that. That's what they've got to hope for, is that that's the case. Other than that, but even then, like Scott said, when those red states, which take more from the government than the blue states take, when they start not being able to do the services, when you start getting that rotten meat, It's sort of like now, with the idea with the tariffs, where we get most of our beef from. And this was actually on Laura Ingram, and I can't believe I actually was watching it. Most of our beef comes from one place, Mexico. Well, now there's tariffs onto it. So if you're wondering why your beef is 3 times more than it was, oh, there you go. But now you're complaining about it. And when all those things come back and bite you on the ass. I mean, we were talking here the other day, in our night, with some friends over here, and was like, hey, yeah, beef's 3 times the amount of money that it was, as far as ground beef, all those beefs. And somebody piped up and said, yeah, but gas hasn't gone up yet. And I was like, not yet, because we have reserves. We don't have reserves of beef. You don't keep beef so long. Gasoline you can keep for a whole long period of time. So it's just not a period of the idea of thinking some of these things through. So to the listener that asked the question, I honestly don't know. I'm as much in the dark as you are. Maybe there's some grand master plan 4D chess that's being played. If there is, I don't see it, and beats the hell out of me.
My view is that probably, well, since Trump is the one who bounces and jounces Mike Johnson around, probably Trump is the one who has said, don't seat her. We can't have Epstein files coming out or whatever.
Sure.
And Trump can't think his way out of his chair. But
that isn't impactful on the shutdown, Brooke. That's the whole point. He could just have her come into his office. He shows up for 5 minutes.
Can't think that far, and Trump can't think. If Johnson imagine being Johnson trying to explain that to Trump, and I don't even know if Johnson understands that himself.
Well,
we'll send him some crayons, and hopefully he can do it in crayon.
But to the other thing, you mentioned beef, right? And so what I've heard from so many people is like, well, there's a drought, and it's been a long-term drought, and our beef herd is small now, and that's why beef is so expensive. And I've heard people say that. And then I think to myself, well, there was bird flu, which caused an egg shortage, but it didn't stop people hating Biden for the egg shortage, right? And saying, hey, look at egg prices so high, Biden's doing a horrible job. Well, I'm sorry, but if you're going to play that game, it's got to be the other way. And I tell you something, the beef prices are a lot worse than the egg prices are. This is bad. And coffee, and there's a lot of stuff out there that's bad. And again, I think it's going to take until Christmas comes and goes before people realize things suck, and prices really are high. Better. And again, I think that there's a plan for it. I don't want to go into my whole rentier state belief, but I believe it more today with the east wing of the White House being demolished so that they could build a ballroom that will hold many more people than anything else has, so that people can pay tribute to Trump and get what they need from him. And that we are on our way. I'm not going to predict when it happens. We are on our way to the abolishment of the income tax, and the creation of tariffs being a tax on the American consumer, who will gripe and moan and be angry about it, but will continue to buy things because that's what Americans do. And this is going to happen.
As long as you have a job.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. I mean, at some point, people won't be able to afford anything because many people they can't afford their rent, and they're being evicted, and they aren't being paid. And
so then they get paid. Then they get paid, Brooke. Then the government says, Donald Trump says, you know what? I'm going to be the one to say who gets what.
Oh, I see.
And know what? Okay. I'm going to take care of red states first. And red states are going to get I don't know what it is, $1,000 a month, and blue states get UNGATs. And then, the blue states are suffering bad enough that it's going to be a problem. We'll give the blue states, let's say $500 a month, and they can live on that. There are other rentier states. They do exist. They generally have oil reserves or something like that. But then again, that might be why we're attacking Venezuela now, is to get another source of income on top of the tariffs, which are a tax on Americans, not other countries, but that, and Trump claims that we've got $20 trillion of revenue pouring into the country nobody's ever seen before. The entire economy is like 30 trillion. So we would feel quite wealthy, I think, if we added another $20 trillion to the economy.
And yet Carolyn Levitt says, "Oh, we can't afford to pay the federal government workers because the government has no money."
Right. And then they build a ballroom, which taxpayers are going to be on the hook for. And look, this is the way it's going. He does want to be the king, and it is going to have impact on the economy. And nobody's going to cry when the income tax goes away, but you've just lost your autonomy because now you're on the dole and the government gets to give you your salary.
Also, apparently now Trump wants to buy beef from Argentina, and one of the beef farmers the beef cattle ranchers was saying, well, what's wrong with American beef that was supposed to be, Americans were supposed to be buying from Americans, and now of course that's not happening. Right. And we're going to be propping up Argentina instead because of Scott Besson and his buddies. So there are a number of Republicans who voted for Trump who are not satisfied.
Trump's response to that reporter who said, how are you giving all this money to Argentina? And he said, they're dying. Their economy is dying. Their country is dying. Don't you understand? I was like, what? Like, what kind of response is that? Isn't that Argentina's responsibility, not ours? I don't, Scott, I don't get it.
Scott, there's a lot of beachfront property in Argentina.
Yeah, I guess there is. Oh man,
that's true. When
come on now. Sometimes everybody acts exactly as expected, and there's a
Argentina is going to be we're going to get our beef from Argentina. We're going to get our oil from Venezuela.
Right.
So we could tell the Canadians to go pound sand.
There's beachfront in Venezuela, correct?
Oh yes.
Oh hell yeah, yeah. It's nice.
I mean, but let's face it,
that's right on the
beachfront property in Canada, it's too damn cold. So, but Argentina and Venezuela, hell yeah, we're good.
I don't think you have to go more than 50 miles into Canada before you get to start like no population, right?
Oh yeah.
The whole thing is it's a long thin strip along the United States border.
Oh, yeah. Most Canadians live within, I think 90% of the Canadian population lives within 100 miles of the American border.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's 90%. It used to be. I think it was 90%. Yep. It's been a while since I studied that to pass my citizenship exam. Yeah.
So anyway, what was this about again? This is about the government
Ollie.
shutdown.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Ollie. And,
there is no plan. I guess it doesn't benefit anybody, and I don't think there's a plan.
Well, there you go. We disagree. I think there is a plan. I think the plan is to destroy the U.S. government and replace the deep state with Trump loyalists, and that's the plan. And until that's over, you could expect the government to remain shut.
Well, I don't know if there's any benefit for the ordinary Republican, the ordinary congressman, right? I mean, there has to be a benefit for the high uppity up secretary of this and head of that and the Kristi Noems and those people, but I don't know if for the regular Marjorie Taylor Greene and other people who don't seem to be quite as on board, if there will be tremendous benefit from what is happening.
Oh, I agree. I mean, I don't think it. I look. How much do you depend on the federal government? In some places, quite a bit. In Marjorie Taylor Greene's hometown, or where she represents anyway, quite a bit. if you look at who benefits from the government, it's usually red states and incredibly rural populations that depend on the government. I mean, the farmers wouldn't make it farming if it wasn't for government subsidies, right? The Northeast Dairy Compact has been around for like 100 years between Vermont, New York, and Massachusetts, I guess, or wherever else, which means that the state governments pay the farmers to keep the price of milk stable, so we don't have to deal with the volatility of a free market. And once the government is no longer putting their finger on the scale for people are going to see how real life is, and they're not going to like it.
Nope. And let's keep in mind, those people in Marjorie Taylor Greene's district could be working at Hyundai right now, but unfortunately, that isn't going to be happening.
Yep, and Tennessee as well, right?
Absolutely. So you can thank the policies of that. All right. Next.
Yeah. So thank you, Ollie, very much. That's an excellent question. And we appreciate your question, and we appreciate your listening, and we appreciate all our listeners. Thank you. And if you are not yet subscribed on the platform of your choice, please do so. Subscribing is free, and we look forward to seeing you again on the Nova Society.
The Nova Society is a production of Nova Society Media, a division of the Phoenix Research Institute. We'd like to thank our production partners, Buzzsprout, who hosts the Nova Society, Audacity, our editing partners, Apple iTunes, the largest source of podcasts and music on the internet, Spotify, the most popular platform for the Nova Society, and iHeartRadio, your source for all things music and podcasting. The Nova Society is available on all of these and other quality platforms listed in our description. We'd also like to thank all of our listeners. Without your support, the Nova Society would not be possible. If you have a question or comment, we can be reached at nova.society.podcast@gmail.com. So for Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, Dr. Scott Gershwer, and all of our production partners here at the Nova Society, I'm Dr. Mark Bound. Remember, the true power in society is knowledge. Thanks for listening, and we will see you again next time.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening!